My name is Professor Sergei Antonov. I am a theoretical physicist, specializing in particle dynamics and high-energy reactions. For 12 years, I have served the Soviet Union's scientific establishment without question, without doubt. I believed in progress, in the rational application of knowledge for the betterment of mankind. That belief died in the winter of 1958, in a frozen archive 300 kilometers from anywhere that appears on official maps. This is my testimony. This is what I found. If you are reading this, I am either dead or I have disappeared into the vast bureaucratic machinery of state security. Either way, the truth must survive. Someone must know what really happened at Tunguska in 1908. Someone must understand the price of our hubris. They told me it would be routine. A simple academic exercise. Professor Antonov, said Colonel Dmitry Volsky of the GRU, his breath misting in the Moscow cold as we stood outside the institute, you have been selected for a special assignment. Your expertise in exotic particle interactions makes you uniquely qualified. I should have been flattered. Instead, I felt the first whisper of unease. What assignment, Comrade Colonel? The ministry requires a comprehensive review of certain, historical research materials. Imperial Russian scientific archives that predate the revolution. Most have been catalogued and studied. But there is one facility, a laboratory complex established in 1906 in the Siberian interior, that has never been properly examined. Why now? After 50 years? His eyes, gray as frozen steel, met mine. Because we have reason to believe the Tsarist scientists were conducting research that anticipated certain modern theoretical frameworks. Research that might have strategic value. Strategic value. The words every Soviet scientist learns to recognize. It means weapons. It always means weapons. When do I leave? Tomorrow. A transport will take you to Krasnoyarsk. From there, a helicopter to the site. You will have 2 weeks to review the materials and submit your report. That was 3 days ago. It feels like a lifetime. November 14, 1958, 0847 hours. The helicopter descends through a white void. Snow. Endless, suffocating snow driven horizontal by winds that seem to have blown since the creation of the world. Below, barely visible through the blizzard, I see it, a cluster of gray concrete structures half buried in snowdrifts, surrounded by rusted fencing and watchtowers that lean at angles suggesting abandonment. This is Facility 7. Or in official documents. No name. Just a number. The helicopter pilot, a man who hasn't spoken since we left Krasnoyarsk, gestures downward. I nod. We descend. The landing is violent. Wind buffets the aircraft like a toy. When the skids finally touch ground, I am already reaching for the door. The cold hits me like a physical blow. -40, perhaps colder. My breath freezes instantly, crystals of ice forming on my beard. Through the whiteout, I see a figure approaching. A man in a heavy greatcoat, a shenka pulled low, face wrapped in wool. He has to shout to be heard over the wind. Professor Antonov? Yes. Major Yuri Kasakov. Commander of this installation. Welcome to Facility 7. Though I doubt you'll find much here worth welcoming. He leads me toward the largest structure, a brutalist concrete block with small windows like prison cells. The door is steel, 2 feet thick, with wheel locks like a submarine hatch. It takes both of us to turn it. Inside, the silence is absolute. The wind vanishes as if we've entered a tomb. Which, I suppose, we have. The interior is a maze of corridors, all concrete, all identical, lit by bare bulbs that cast sickly yellow light. Our footsteps echo. There is no other sound. No machinery. No voices. Nothing alive. How many personnel are stationed here, Major? 7. Myself included. This facility has been minimally staffed since 1945. Before that. He shrugs. Before that, it didn't officially exist. And the archives I'm here to review? Level 3, Section D. We call it the vault. Nothing has been removed from there since. He pauses. Well, since the Tsar's period. We descend stairs that spiral into darkness. Level 1. Level 2. The air grows colder despite being underground. Level 3. The corridor here is different. Older. The concrete is rougher, mixed with brick in places. Pre-revolutionary construction. Electric lights have been retrofitted, but I can see the brackets where gas lamps once hung. Major Kasakov stops before a door. Unlike the others, this one is wood, heavy oak, banded with iron, with 3 separate locks. This is as far as I go, Professor. You have 2 weeks. There's a desk, a lamp, a heater that barely works. Food and water will be brought twice daily. If you need anything else. He hands me a radio. Call. We'll hear you. Why the isolation, Major? Why am I the only one allowed in? He looks at me with something that might be pity. Orders from Moscow. This material is classified beyond top secret. Whatever you find, it's for your eyes only. My men and I, we're here to make sure it stays that way. He produces 3 keys, unlocks the door, and pulls it open. A breath of stale air rushes out, carrying the smell of old paper, dust, and something else. Something chemical and faintly acrid. Good luck, Professor. You'll need it. He leaves me alone with the darkness. November 14, 1958, 1320 hours. The room beyond is larger than I expected. Perhaps 20 meters square, with vaulted ceilings disappearing into shadow. The walls are lined with steel shelving units, all loaded with boxes, crates, file cabinets. Everything is covered in a fine layer of dust. In the center sits a wooden desk, massive, probably 2 centuries old, with a single electric lamp and an oil heater that radiates feeble warmth. I close the door behind me and hear the locks engage from outside. I am sealed in. For a long moment, I simply stand there, listening. The silence is so complete I can hear my own heartbeat, my blood moving through my veins. Then, faintly, I hear something else. A metallic ticking. Regular. Rhythmic. Coming from somewhere in the darkness. I walk toward the sound, my shoes scuffing on concrete. In the far corner, I find it, an old mechanical clock mounted on the wall, still running despite 5 decades of neglect. Someone wounded. Recently. The realization sends ice through my veins. I return to the desk and begin. The first boxes contain exactly what I expected: research notes on metallurgy, chemistry experiments, geological surveys. Boring. Routine. The kind of science any industrial nation might pursue in the early 1900s. But as I dig deeper, patterns emerge. References to Project Tunguska. Funding allocated to something called the Special Scientific Directorate of His Imperial Majesty. Names, always the same names, appearing across dozens of documents: Dr. Alexei Volkov, Dr. Katerina Sokolova, Engineer Pavel Mikhailov. By the 5th hour, my eyes ache and my fingers are numb despite the heater. But I find something that makes me forget the cold. A steel box. Small. About the size of a shoebox. Locked with a combination dial. And written on the lid in faded paint, 1908. Volkov, personal, 1908. I shouldn't be able to open it. I should call Major Kasakov, follow protocol. But curiosity, that old scientist's curse, overcomes caution. I try dates. Birth dates from Volkov's personnel file. Nothing. Historical dates. Nothing. Then, on impulse, I try June 30th, 1908. The lock clicks. The lid opens. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, is a leather journal. The cover is cracked with age, the pages yellowed but intact. And tucked into the front page is a photograph. It shows 5 people standing before a large wooden building, a laboratory, judging by the equipment visible through the windows. 3 men in suits and beards. 1 woman in a long dress and white lab coat. And in the center, a young man with intense dark eyes and an expression of barely contained excitement. On the back, in careful Cyrillic script, Tunguska Research Station. June 1, 1908. 4 weeks before the test. My hands are shaking as I open the journal. The first entry is dated January 15, 1908. January 15, 1908. His Imperial Majesty has granted our petition. We are to proceed with Project Tunguska. The implications are staggering. If our theories prove correct, if we can indeed induce controlled anti-materialization, Russia will possess a weapon that renders all conventional military force obsolete. Katerina worries that we move too quickly, that our mathematical models are incomplete. But Pavel assures me the containment apparatus will hold. And time is against us. The Intelligence Directorate reports that both the British and the Germans are pursuing similar lines of research. We cannot afford to be second. We depart for Siberia on the 23rd, God willing. By summer we will have changed the world. March 3, 1908. The laboratory is completed. It was an enormous undertaking, transporting equipment across hundreds of kilometers of wilderness, constructing a facility in temperatures that froze mercury solid. But it is done. The site selection was brilliant. The Tunguska region is uninhabited save for scattered Evenki nomads, who avoid the area we've chosen due to superstitious beliefs about evil spirits. Perfect for our purposes. If something goes wrong, the explosion will harm no one. I write if, but I should write when. We are tampering with forces that humanity has barely glimpsed. Creating matter's opposite, its annihilation twin. Every calculation suggests it should be safe. But calculations can be wrong. May 12, 1908. We achieved first stable confinement today. For 17 minutes, we suspended 0.0003 grams of antihydrogen in a magnetic bottle. When we released it into the reaction chamber, the result was beautiful. Terrible. Glorious. A flash of pure energy. Not heat, not light, something more fundamental. Existence itself protesting its own negation. The chamber walls showed no damage, but every instrument we had was overloaded. The released energy, if properly harnessed, could power all of St. Petersburg for a month. From 0.0003 grams. Pavel is already designing the larger apparatus. Katerina has stopped voicing concerns. Even she cannot deny the mathematics now. This works. This is real. June 15, 1908. The arguments grow worse. Katerina has analyzed the cascade equations and believes we've made a fundamental error. She claims that at larger masses, the containment field won't simply fail, it will invert, creating a runaway reaction that feeds on the surrounding matter. I've reviewed her work. Her mathematics are sound. But her conclusions are based on assumptions we simply cannot verify without experiment. And time has run out. The Tsar himself has demanded a demonstration. The test is scheduled for June 30th. Pavel sides with me. The apparatus will hold. It must. June 28, 1908. 2 days. In 2 days, we will either become the fathers of a new age or the gravediggers of all we hold dear. Katerina has left. She took the last supply wagon back to Krasnoyarsk yesterday, saying she would not be party to catastrophe. She called us madmen. Perhaps we are. The target mass for the test, 5 grams of antimatter. The theoretical yield, equivalent to 108 kilotons of TNT. Enough to flatten a small city. But controlled, contained, demonstrated. Pavel jokes that we will become famous. I pray we simply survive. June 30th, 1908, 7:14 local time. Final entry. In minutes, we begin the test. The apparatus is charged. 5 grams of antihydrogen suspended in the primary chamber. All systems nominal. Pavel is at the controls. I am at the observation station with binoculars, 2 kilometers from the laboratory. The morning is beautiful. Clear sky. No wind. The taiga stretches endlessly in all directions. Somewhere out there, nomadic herders tend their reindeer, unaware that their world is about to change forever. I can see Pavel through the laboratory windows, moving between instruments. He gives the signal. Thumbs up. All ready. I raise my hand. The signal to begin. He turns to the master control panel. He throws the switch. The diary ends there. Abruptly. No signature. No conclusion. I sit in the cold vault, staring at the final page, and I feel sick. Because I know what happened next. Every Soviet schoolchild knows. At 7:17 a.m. on June 30, 1908, something exploded over the Tunguska River Valley with the force of 15 megatons, 1,000 times larger than their predicted yield. The blast flattened 2,150 square kilometers of forest, knocked down 80 million trees, and was detected by seismic stations across Eurasia. Eyewitnesses hundreds of kilometers away reported seeing a column of blue light as bright as the sun, followed by a shock wave that broke windows and knocked people off their feet. The explosion was heard 1,000 kilometers away. Official history calls it a meteor or comet. A natural disaster. An act of God. But it wasn't. It was us. Humans. Scientists. Playing with forces we didn't understand, driven by national pride and the race for military supremacy. And 3 people died for it. Volkov, Mikhailov, and presumably anyone else who remained at the laboratory. Vaporized in the initial blast. Not even ashes left behind. I flip back through the journal, looking for more. And I find it, a loose page, tucked into the back cover. A letter. Written in a different hand. A woman's hand. July 15, 1908. To whomever finds this record. My name is Dr. Katerina Sokolova. I was the theoretical physicist assigned to Project Tunguska. I left the research station 2 days before the test because I knew what would happen. Dr. Volkov and engineer Mikhailov ignored my warnings. They were so certain, so arrogant in their brilliance. They believed they could control forces that have no business being controlled. The test was not an accident. It was murder. Murder by pride. Murder by ambition. I have delivered my report to His Imperial Majesty's Cabinet. I have explained what happened. I have provided the mathematics proving that the explosion was not natural but man-made. And do you know what they told me? They told me to be silent. They told me the truth was inconvenient. That revelation of an antimatter experiment gone catastrophically wrong would panic the populace, undermine faith in science, provide military intelligence to foreign powers. They ordered the site sealed. All evidence destroyed. The official story, a meteorite. A cosmic accident. Not our fault. But it was our fault. My colleagues' bodies are radioactive ash. The Evenki people who lived in the blast zone are dead or dying from exposure to exotic particles they have no words for. And the land itself is poisoned, will remain poisoned for decades, perhaps centuries. All this, for a weapon we never even proved could be controlled. I am writing this in July 1908. By the time you read it, I will likely be dead. The Imperial Security Service does not tolerate loose ends. I have been ordered to report to St. Petersburg for debriefing. I do not expect to return. If you are a scientist reading this, learn from our mistake. Some knowledge is not worth pursuing. Some power is too great to be wielded. We thought ourselves gods. We were fools. May God forgive us. Because history will not. Dr. K. Sokolova. I read the letter 3 times. My hands have stopped shaking. I feel nothing. No shock. No anger. Just a vast, empty comprehension. They knew. The Tsarist government knew. And then the Soviets inherited the archives and they knew too. For 50 years, they've known the truth about Tunguska. And they've chosen to maintain the lie. I look around the vault with new eyes. This isn't an archive. It's a tomb. A place to bury inconvenient truths. And I've just been sealed inside with them. November 16, 1958, 0320 hours. I haven't slept. Can't sleep. The journal and the letter sit on the desk before me, illuminated by the weak lamp. I've photographed every page with the camera I smuggled in, against protocol, but my instincts were correct. The film is hidden in the lining of my coat. I've spent the last hours searching through the other boxes, looking for more. And I found it. Government correspondence from 1908. Imperial security assessments. And then, after 1917, Soviet intelligence reports. All saying the same thing: the truth about Tunguska must never become public knowledge. But why? I understand the Tsarist cover-up. They didn't want to admit they'd lost control of a superweapon and killed their own scientists. But why would the Soviets maintain the lie? Then I found the answer in a 1946 memo from Lavrentiy Beria, Stalin's security chief, to the Soviet atomic bomb project. The Tunguska incident proves that antimatter weapons are feasible but require significantly more sophisticated containment than previously theorized. American research into exotic particles must be monitored closely. If they discover what the Tsarists attempted, they might succeed where Imperial Russia failed. The strategic implications would be catastrophic. Continue research. But maintain absolute secrecy. No one can know we are pursuing this. They're still working on it. Somewhere, in some other secret facility, Soviet scientists are trying to recreate what killed Volkov and Mikhailov. They're trying to weaponize antimatter. And they sent me here to assess the historical data. To see if there's anything useful in the Tsarist research that might help them succeed. I'm not a historian. I'm a consultant for a weapons program. The realization makes me want to vomit. There's a sound outside the vault door. Metallic. Locks turning. Someone's coming. I quickly gather the journal and letter, wrap them back in the oilcloth, return them to the steel box. Close the lid. Spin the combination lock. Place it back where I found it. The door opens. Major Kasakov enters, carrying a tray with tea and black bread. Working through the night, Professor. Dedication or insomnia? Both, I manage. My voice sounds normal. That frightens me. He sets the tray down, glances at the papers spread across my desk. Finding anything interesting? Metallurgy reports. Chemical analyses. Nothing revolutionary. The Tsarists were competent but not exceptional. It's a lie. A necessary lie. Because I've realized something else. I'm not the first scientist sent to review these archives. The dust patterns on the shelves, the way certain boxes are slightly out of alignment, the recent winding of that old clock. Someone has been here before me. Recently. And they're probably dead now. Or disappeared into a prison camp. Anyone who learns the truth about Tunguska doesn't leave this place alive. Well, you have another 10 days, Kasakov says. Take breaks. Get sleep. The archives aren't going anywhere. He leaves. The door locks behind him. I sit alone in the silence, staring at the steel box containing proof that governments will sacrifice anything, truth, lives, entire forests, to maintain their secrets and pursue military advantage. Dr. Sokolova was right. Some knowledge isn't worth having. Some power is too dangerous to exist. But here I am, possessing both. And I have no idea what to do with them. The old clock ticks on in the darkness. Counting down. But to what? November 27, 1958, 2347 hours. This will be my final entry. Tomorrow I leave Facility 7. I will submit my report to Colonel Volsky in Moscow. No materials of strategic value found. Recommend archive be permanently sealed. It's another lie. To protect myself. To buy time. The film hidden in my coat contains the truth. Dr. Volkov's journal. Dr. Sokolova's letter. Proof that Tunguska was not a meteor but a failed weapons test. Proof that my government has known this for decades and hidden it while continuing the same research. I don't know yet what I'll do with this evidence. Publishing it would be suicide. The GRU would have me arrested within hours. My family would suffer. The truth would be suppressed anyway. But I can't do nothing. 27 years ago, 3 scientists died because they believed national power justified any risk. Today, somewhere, other scientists are making the same mistake. And when they succeed, when they finally create a stable antimatter weapon, what then? Mutually assured destruction is terrifying enough with nuclear weapons. But antimatter makes nuclear bombs look like firecrackers. 1 gram, 1 single gram, releases energy equivalent to 43 kilotons. The bomb dropped on Nagasaki was 21 kilotons. What happens when nations possess weapons that can erase cities with devices small enough to fit in a briefcase? What happens when containment fails not in a Siberian forest but in Moscow, or New York, or London? Dr. Sokolova knew. And it drove her to despair. Some power is too great to be wielded. I'm sitting now in my assigned room, writing this by candlelight. Outside, the Siberian wind howls. The same wind that blew 50 years ago when Volkov threw that switch. The same wind that will blow 50 years from now, long after all of us are dust. If you're reading this, you've found my account. Perhaps I've been arrested. Perhaps I've disappeared. Perhaps I found the courage to release this information and paid the price. Whatever happened to me, you now know the truth about Tunguska. Use it wisely. Learn from it. Because humanity is very good at building weapons and very bad at deciding not to use them. The clock is ticking. How much time do we have left?
Classified document ends. The following note was appended to Professor Antonov's file by State Security in March 1959, smiley face. Subject attempted to defect to American Embassy in Helsinki on February 12, 1959. Was intercepted by KGB operatives. Deceased in custody February 14, 1959. Official cause, cardiac arrest. All research materials confiscated and destroyed. Case closed. But the film was never found.